encirclement and suppression. And if anyone remembers, you can go back 20 years ago, however far you go back, we always talked about encirclement and suppression. Whether it was a discussion we just had privately about Imam Muhammad, it was encirclement and suppression. Surround that leader and try to suppress it. Okay, every leader, most leaders in the world, they have a group of people who take their personal interests above the national or universal interests. The friends that I knew in Iran, or still know, that was a time when and they probably still do, they took their party interests above the interests of the state or the interests of Islam. Imam Khomeini had downplayed political parties. In other words, there's no more political parties. So he disbanded the parties that were even friendly to him, like combatant ulama, the fighting ulama. That party was his friends, but he disbanded them. I want to just the offensive against the Red Armies, in each encirclement and suppression campaign, the enemy employs the offensive, and I'll just use the term, what I'm reading from is about the rebellion in China. But it has the historical pattern involved in it. And this is where we first studied the historical pattern of encirclement and suppression. All oppressors against each and every movement or organization, they apply the same basic rule. Encircle or surround the people, cut it off from everything, and suppress it. That's just natural. That's the tactic. In each encirclement and suppression campaign, the enemy employs the offensive against the Red Army's defensive, and the Red Army employs its defensive against his offensive. This is the first stage of a counter-campaign against encirclement and suppression. Then the enemy employs the defensive against the Red Army's offensive, and the Red Army employs the offensive against his defensive. This is the second stage of the counter-campaign. Every encirclement and suppression campaign has these two stages, and they alternate over a long period. I want to just make that clear, that this is true, that there's encirclement and suppression, and the enemy employs their offensive. They attack you, and you defend yourself. If you happen to survive over a long period of time, then you have a counter-campaign of encirclement against encirclement and suppression, and you attack them, and then they defend themselves against your campaign. It may not be a big open offensive like a worldwide campaign, but these are the rules, basic rules of encirclement and suppression. It has proclaimed their utter failure to encircle, pursue, obstruct, and intercept us. The Long March is also a propaganda force. It has announced to some 200 million people in 11 provinces that the road of the Red Army is their only road to liberation. Without the Long March, how could the broad masses have learned so quickly about the existence of the great truth which the Red Army embodies? The Long March is also a seeding machine. Okay. Does everybody know what the Long March was? The Long March is the most famous event in modern Chinese history. They started out with so many 100,000 people, and they fought a defensive battle against Chiang Kai-shek. And it was a 6,000-mile journey. Like, they fought all the way to California and back to D.C. That's 6,000 miles. And that they crossed all the territory. If you went the southern route, you would be in the desert. Then you look up with them desert clothes on, which they all had. You up into the highest mountains. Freezing weather. Man, it was unbelievable. Swamps and everything. The Long March, but all the way you're encountering the people. You're educating the people. You're teaching the people. And so that's why he called a Long March a seeding machine. Also in Chairman Mao's writing, he always talked about a protracted struggle, long-range struggle. Now, we're already about ready to catch them in numbers. In fact, we have. Like if we say we've been doing a protracted 40-year struggle. Okay, they started in Communist Party in 1921, and then by the time in 1935 to 1949, if you want to call that a protracted struggle, that's only 14, 15 years, 10, good God Almighty, yes, 14, 15 years. Okay, we've had a 40-year struggle, conscious struggle, 40 years with the United States government. But the pattern is the same. They attack us. They pursue us. They obstruct. They're doing it right this very minute. And we accept openly, and that's what we're saying right now. We accept openly and gladly and happily your attempt, the United States, because see, we've offered them all type of friendship and lovey-dovey stuff, and they refused. Now, I know to the people who's listening, they said, them niggas is crazy. They're sitting there talking about you gonna now, you done offered the United States government with all of its power and prestige and position, and you're gonna offer them a chance to surrender to you. So I know what the people are thinking. They just don't study, right? They're not studying history. First of all, I'll get back to the subject. Look at our history and look at their history. In the last 40 years, where did we start? With literally nothing, right? And in 1980, they had everything. They had everything. They had global prestige. They had, man, the U.S. was still big. It was important, right? It was the United States government. Look at it now, and look at the erosion, and look at everything they did. They had World Trade Center. Well, they had the World Trade Center for what? So they could use it as a pretext to attack us, and they did. And they started in Afghanistan first. Then they started Iraq. Look at them. They were successful in starting the fitna, but look at what's happened to them. Afghanistan, they can't leave. They just can't. Every time they try to leave, they pleading. I wish you could hear them. Come on, man. Why don't y'all just sign anything and let us go. We've had it. Well, the U.S. didn't study the history. They thought, oh, history, we ain't gonna get took out like everybody else. They just took the Russians out. Well, the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was bad in those days, and they broke its back. All of our lectures say the first shoe have already fallen. They've taken out boss man, over there, and He come in as the Soviet Union, that whole Soviet Union, Poland and all of the Hungary, everybody there, right? And when it's all over, it's just Russia, right? Well, it's 1/6 and a half most of the world. I mean, that's okay. But the U.S. didn't study that. It had its exceptions. I'm boss man. That happened to him. And the first few months, all the Russian generals and everybody was congratulating him. Y'all did a good job, man. Y'all knocked these boys over. Y'all did this, y'all did that. And they were congratulating the United States. They're not congratulating them now. 18 years of butt whipping. And they've used everything. Remember, they dropped the Daisy Cutter over there a few years ago. That big old bomb that they dropped on something. 50. It's the biggest sub-nuclear explosion. What is it, 15,000 tons of TNT? Yeah, but they just drop it. And not only, an explosion, first of all, it collapses lung. It sucks all the oxygen out of the air for I don't know how long around. And they've used that on Afghanistan. How brutal could somebody be to use that type of stuff on people? When I went to Afghanistan, there's still camels running around. If you went to Peshawar and stuff like that, right in there, across from Afghanistan, the people still they probably gone now, but they still had camels and stuff like that running around. And they dropping Daisy Cutters on them. And they ain't broke them yet. Good God Almighty. Okay, that's boss man. And then, if you were to take Afghanistan as one arena, then Iraq is another. The only thing the United States and Russia has the power to kill people by the millions. So they went into Iraq and they just mowed down the people. Okay, the people come back crazy because they said, this is not a video game. Then they get a chance to think about it and say, we actually killed real people. And it ain't hardly nobody gets back here with good sense. Else it wouldn't be 22 people a day committing suicide. So that means it's 1,000 or 2,000 a day or more suffering depression and all of that stuff. If 22 kill themselves, get to that level, then it must be a whole cadre of them just coming up to the places are full. The medical facilities are full of people. Okay. Now, here we are in the middle of that, encirclement and suppression. And they're using everything in their book you could imagine. Do you remember Captain Ted? Captain Ted, the Marine, yeah, they used to come here. Captain Ted. They went to he was Jalil's friend. No, Captain Ted. At first he came with now he had to be probably the best Marine they had. But he came here, his purpose was to teach us guerrilla warfare. No, because him and his friend, when they came, Captain Ted was talking about, that's what he was talking about. It started over on 8th Street, yeah. He was talking about, I'm ready for martyrdom and all of that stuff. Because they know that was, in that time, that was heavily our line, because we coming off a heavy dose of martyrdom. I mean, glassy-eyed, what you want to do. You know what I mean? And where you go to bed kind of thinking about it, and all during the day you have about a half hour where you just, salivating, ready, martyrdom, bring it on. And that's healthy. That's a little healthy. That's not bad. So that means you right at the peak of all that. Captain Ted came here, And I used to pay first of all, I knew where he came from, and it was automatically. He come in with Captain Bars from the Marines, and if we need something, no, huh? No, when they first came, they'd have uniforms on. Oh, we didn't have the FBI uniform. FBI uniform. The police that bought my first weapons for me. Wait a minute, because I don't like no weapons around me. Because that way can't nobody say nothing. So the FBI police came. I'll get back to Captain Ted. FBI police came, and then he had one of the sons of one of my best friends. When we was talking about the chief and all that, okay, bad, that's a big crew out there. Anyway, one of my best friends that was selling dope and everything, he was part of a high yellow crew out there. The whole family for decades been that. And his name was George. So his friend was going through, both of them FBI police. So that means they're uniform, they're uniform, not agents. So they trying to get me to do this and get me to do that. So I'm saying, yeah, I'm from Oakland, and I'm looking at the guy, and I said, yeah, you know, George was one of my best friends out there. I wonder what happened to him. He had actually got killed. The guy said, yeah, George was my father. I said, oh, okay. So, and I suspected, not that they all, Judge Wilson, Lionel Wilson, was the mayor. And in those days, most of those type, one of the guys was a big dope dealer, which didn't have none of the characteristics of a drug dealer. He was part of their family. And then the people in the masjid that was really following the chief there, I think they really was with the chief. They was from that family. But anyway, when I tell you that I went over to a gun show in Baltimore, he took me over there. I said, I'll go and look around. So he said, you want to get something? I said, I don't know, I don't. So he said, I can get it. So he pulled out his ID, and I looked at it, I said, oh, that's his FBI ID. So he got those guns, because I ain't had no, if they put it under my name, they'd close the place down. So he bought those two weapons, a SKS and a Mossberg, one of them short Mossbergs with pistol grip. I like that boy. So after I got it, they realized what was done. So I took it up to Philadelphia, and my family, in those days, stole it, because that, to me, it was evidence. I got evidence, because I have his ID. He had to give his ID to get that. Now I got evidence that they're trying to entrap me. Yeah, so they came in with a search warrant for up there, and they, all of a sudden, both of those weapons, I took them from here up there. Number one, I wouldn't have them by me, and they checking all the time, because it used to be a little house next door to the masjid over there. They brought dogs up there, they was smelling around, and then they had them, I looked outside, I said, what's happening? So it was the marshals, they said, we're looking for somebody to run off from Lorton. So I drove around the block. I said, y'all are lying as so-and-sos I ever seen. There ain't nobody around here. Y'all got them dogs smelling all up against our house. And since we worked out in that little house, we had iron over there, they thought it might be a weapons stash, because they didn't believe that a Negro was nonviolent. They didn't believe, like the way I talked and the way I presented things, they didn't believe I was nonviolent. They said, no, this nigga is violent. He's violent prone, and that's the way that is. Look at here. They probably still feel the same way, almost, but they don't have no, whatever it is, the nigga got the potential to do that because he ain't scared of us at all. So just scratch that off. He don't have no fear of the institutional power of the Americans. You could turn the heat down now. It's just right. Okay, now let me get back to this encirclement suppression is a pattern. If anybody remembers some years ago, even far back as 20 years ago, I said the closer you look, the more you see. Anybody, do you remember that? The closer you look, talking about encirclement and suppression, the more you see. Talking about here. The closer you look, the more you're going to see. That's about encirclement and suppression. Encirclement and suppression, obstruction. Intercept, pursue, obstruct is natural. That's what they do. We talked the other day about that their idea is to try to make sure we don't get no momentum going. So right now, the last time, couple of times we went to California, a few years ago, I took my stuff ready to go back and hit the courts. So they just arrested me a couple of times, and then after that, they stole the paperwork, all big stacks of bank records, all of that. They stole that. They took that and they gave it to Mukhtar. Okay. So no matter what you do, the reason that you came, they obstructed that. But hidden in all of that is our forcing the environment. See, we're not a victim of the environment anymore. We was at first, but that's been years and years ago. We can not enforce, but we can infect the battle space that we're in. So I know that they're watching me 24/7. So if I go out of the masjid holding these boxes, the mail crates, and put my bag over my shoulder, and I got all of that, they can't they can't do it. They can't not take it. They can't do it. They gotta take it. Okay, that's our study of them. That's our study. What does encirclement and suppression mean to us? What does a counter campaign against the system mean to us? Not what it meant to China. We just look at this for the pattern. Why? China's 4,000 years, they have a 4,000-year history. They've never invaded anyone. They've never invaded anyone, and all the old patterns of war and all the strategic manuals and all of that, where do they come from? China. And those patterns, since the human being is the same as it was then, basic makeup, the art of war is still the same, but it's on a higher technical level, right? But still the rules are the same. So now here we are. Instead of the battlefield, what is the battle space for us? How can we manipulate the battle space? How can we manipulate the whole system? How can we do that? Well, we've been doing it all along. And you have to know, what do we have on our side? What do we have going on our side? Man, this is boss man got everything, but he don't have everything. And what he don't have, he don't have, or he does have arrogance of himself. And he have people that are liking in all kind of character, and he give them officialdom by being with him. Like if the police say, I am the police, he's saying it off boss man stuff. His wife slap him upside the head. His kids don't respect him. But with me and you, I am the police. In fact, if he's the police, he's usually not going to be that smart with girls. He's not going to be the captain of the football team in high school, right? He ain't going to be all of that. A few of them might, because some of the ones that are more involved in physical fitness, like boxers, they tend to become policemen because it's physical. And the physical thing means that the bigger the gang, the more power they have. So he looks around. That's why they're more susceptible. You would think like all of my friends are boxers, but they don't care nothing about fighting the police. They'll just whip your behind. No, they'll whip your behind to death. They're good at it. But they won't bother the boss man. I look at them, I watch them. They don't bother boss man because boss man got more punching power, right? He's a heavyweight champion of the world. And I can't deal with that, all of what he got, because they do it they're materialistic, they're physical. So they would never, they'll whip your behind, but they won't never go up. Find some, they won't go up against boss man. Muhammad Ali was the only one, and then what's the name was the same way, Jack Johnson. That's why they are two heroes, because they had to fight in spirit, and they would use intellectual mumbo jumbo on boss man and on all their champions, and a lot of the time it would work. So that's why we chose them. We didn't just, well, I'd like to have Muhammad Ali as a special. No, because he used psychological stuff, and so did Jack Johnson. And Jack Johnson probably was the baddest probably guy you can run up on. And then at least Muhammad Ali didn't drive up, he might drive up and down the street with high yellow women, but he didn't drive up and down the street in the early 1900s with white women.
I saw a quote that said, Muhammad Ali said, yeah, I was the champion, Jack Johnson was crazy.
Man, Jack Johnson, see.
But he was crazy, something like that.
Man, Jack Johnson, see, my father's them hero. See, their hero was Jack Johnson. 1910, he won the champion. 1908, he won the championship. And that's all they talked about. They didn't talk about Jack Johnson. About Muhammad Ali. That was our guy. But and I started to read about one article called him the Black Avenger. But anyway, in this psychological campaign, encirclement and suppression has certain characteristics. Obstruct and misguide. Enter Aliyah, Captain Ted and his crew. There's others, but since they listen to what I'm saying and they know I'm telling the truth, then the next step would be guerrilla warfare, sniping. How to snipe, cover up yourself with grass, you know what I mean, and don't move. That's what they was coming to teach. They coming to teach, I can teach this, I said, oh, that's great. Well, the only reason, hell, it ain't much more grass left in the United States. And so we're not gonna be, that's fine. I didn't listen at all. And then he hooked up with Abdul Jalil. Well, I knew something was wrong then, well, before that, because if Abdul Jalil was not right, then I know anybody that leans with him, example, Mukhtar and him, was like, hey. Now you gotta remember, here we are, and they got some of the people floating in and out of here. Where was they at when we was a little while ago? They were gone, they floated away. Now they done floated back. That's good to see how y'all doing and everything, right? They just floated back like it's okay. If I were to listen to them, when the people, some of them right here now, when the people on the hill, imagine the scene. My grandson is here, and at that time he's 10 or 11 or something like that. And there's a guy here, his mother is here, and he's here, he's 17 or 19, one of them. and something happens on the hill and he responds. Well, I had to look out for my little brother. Well, they was just using him, and they thought some of the guys that was here had scratches on them and everything, and they came to my house to get treated by Sister Bahia, right over there. Some of them was black as night, tar babies, whoever they was, all right? And they wanted us to get in it with the, remember when it was nothing but niggas over there? I mean, they're just the lowest, no, we can't say the lowest. But any argument with them would be useless. You wouldn't, okay. Huh? This whole area. But especially them, there and there. And they all in sync. Now remember, if Boss Man and gave them the okay over there, that means if we can drag them into a confrontation here, then they could have we could just get wiped out by them and the Negroes, and then it was spread. Them niggas was over there trying to make us, you know what I mean? And then what would all the DC think? See, when you're leading, you got to think of all of that. So I said, no, we're not going to respond to all of that, because we had a meeting that's lined up in here. Some of the ones right here with hazel-looking eyes, all that, was sitting right there with guns ready to go. Yeah, I'm telling you, see, the niggas don't know that you got to be watching. If you're going to do a good job of leading, you got to pick up on everything and use it when it's good for you. But no way I would let them get us hooked up with fighting those people. Now, of course, couple of years before that, I got in it with the police, and I was challenging the police right down here, maybe 20 years ago, something like that. It was a while back. So everybody knows that it ain't the thing of being afraid of the police or afraid of confrontation. It's just you confrontate when you want to, not when they want to. But anyway, to obstruct, to misdirect, all of those things are natural for what they do to us. Now, the seeding machine is that. The seeding machine is that. We have to make sure that all the CDs and DVDs that we have become available to the public. So if we're starving to death, it don't make no difference. We can put out enough information from ourselves without no more of that. Don't make no difference. Because all this stuff we're saying now is only a repeat over and over and over again. Only 5 or 6, maybe 7 at the most, different paths leading all to the same place. It's repetitive. It's called redundancy. Like if you want to make sure your spaceship works right, or you get back home, you put redundancy, redundancy, redundancy. If one thing go wrong, you got 5 or 6 redundant systems that make sure you get back home. That's the only thing you're trying to do, is you're trying to go out there and you're trying to get back. So you got redundancy, system after system. You don't have 1 or 2 things. That was the early spaceships, Apollo and them, all them. They had 1 or 2. If anything go wrong, it's too bad for you. You gone and you just orbiting for the rest of your life, however long that is, right? But the more skill you get redundancy, 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 over and over and over again. That's what we have here. We have redundancy. What does that mean? We have observed and we have seen so many cycles of all of this, you don't even have to look. You can taste the environmental circumstances now. You can just taste them. It don't make no difference what they think. It don't make no difference even how it sounds. We say, well, we're going to give the FBI a chance to repent. Well, they didn't repent. And they give you a sign. You get all the signs. We haven't repented. We're not going to, okay, you don't repent, then fine. Don't make no difference to us, right? Because we're not on their schedule. This is the thing, we are not on their schedule. And they're not going to, they may send a whole crew in here and they do this and they do that. So if you were to look and see, you would see that basically somebody else is running everything, because that's what encirclement suppression is. That they surround you and everybody else is, you're there, you're chit-chatting and everything, but they slowly try to gain re-encirclement. That's what it is. Encirclement is suppression. Re-encirclement, right? Re. And like it said, that pattern goes on until those people who are encircled eventually gain enough power to launch a physical counter-offensive. That's not our goal. Our goal is to influence the direction of change. Nobody has to, we can go home and go to sleep and don't worry about just puff the pillow up, because you don't have to worry about boss man. You look at his pattern. It's just a historical pattern. Which way is he headed? He's headed down. It don't make whether it's down this way, down that way. He's headed down. And he has momentum in decline. Now remember, if it's hard enough to stop a train when it gets momentum, imagine a whole big system when it's headed down, right? You can't stop it. It's not me and you, 2-3 people sitting around here just chit-chatting. No. We're light, agile. We can change direction, just whoosh, we go on another way. A boss man gonna hit us, we duck, and that's it. We don't have to run all the way over there to duck out of the way, right? The smarter you get, the old master, when you're the young guy, you jump up all the down, turn flips. You ever see the martial arts? And they get into a stance, and then they go all turning, all flipping around. And the old master don't do that. When you hit at the old master just move enough to miss the punch. He ain't trying to show off or nothing, right? So when you get older and sharper, you make less moves because you don't need to, right? You just don't need to. The system of encirclement and suppression. That means they've been encircling us and they've been trying to suppress us. We'll just say 40 years, but it's been longer than that. Because when you last a long time, you get a chance to look at stuff that you never even considered before. If you remember, we was talking about Marcus Garvey when he was kicked out of the United States. He went back to Jamaica. And some people had the little kids following him around, throwing rocks at him and making him sad. And what would he say to himself? I did all of this for my people. And the kids, hell, they paid them kids a couple of shillings to follow him around. And he followed it because he wasn't, remember, those people are our heroes, but what stage of the game would they get at? Marcus Garvey he picked up on all his ships, the Black Star Lines going them Negroes putting sugar in his tank and everything, right? They were sabotaging. When the people present Marcus Garvey, that man was a buffoon, that man was a liar, and his ship, Black Star Shipping Line, was a failure. Of course it is if all the captains is working for the white man, right? But the Black Star Shipping Line went all over the world, and when it went down through Central, oh my goodness, that's the Black Star Line. Hey man. Down there, and Africa, hey man, what it was, that Negro newspaper he had, the Negro World, whatever it was, it went all over. It influenced Kwame Nkrumah. It influenced the whole East African revivalist movement of black people. But His mind was formed back in the 1800s, man. And he could produce. He said, well, I'm going to produce what the white man got. The white man have carriages. The white man give big titles to niggas. He had 3 million people, and he called, you're going to be the grand Cyclops. That's Ku Klux Klan. You're going to be the grand something or other, right? You're going to be the grand Duke of Dutchingham. It don't make no difference. That's who the nigga is. And that's what he's going to act like. Right? I'm telling you. But psychological guerrilla warfare, he didn't have none of that. Why? He didn't catch that, wait a minute, the system is following me. System is following me, and the system is trying to break me, and they run him back to England to become, instead of a functionary, a writer. In 1940, a white newspaper said Marcus Garvey died. And he died. There wasn't nothing wrong with him. He just died. That means he didn't. We have to watch our people, the evolution of the movement. Okay, when they talk to us and we say, no, we way out in front of King and Malcolm. We'd have to be here during this time. It's not that they were not good people. It's not that they were not serious people. But they game hell. Marcus Garvey, Malcolm and all of them, they never said nothing about Booker T. Washington and none of them Negroes, the talented tent. In fact, the talented tent became a Pan-African, and then he started pushing. And the stuff, we're not depending on what Marcus Garvey said. The professor in Africa was telling me, he said, Marcus Garvey said, Mama told me, Marcus said, you got the bear, but you ain't got the cubs. Well, he did get the cubs. The boss man got the cubs, and he knew, go after the kids. Go after everybody. So any Negro that can read and write over 3 sentences, he can get him something to go to the white man's school, yeah. Yeah, and I'm not against it, but the white man gives you, he gives people his rationale, right? So they think on, like, look at the news today. I'll get back to the subject. Just the news today. Okay. They got Bezos, or whatever name is, all them people. They are almost trillionaires now. Yeah. Okay. Now, what's the rationale? The rationale is, it's simple. Suppose they were thinking, the big white folks, don't worry about the medium size and the smaller, because the big bear is the one that want to gobble up, the concentration of wealth. So the people that has all the authority can say, well, if we want to affect the climate, what we can do is we got to come up with something that will stop people from driving all around, right? Something that'll keep them at home. Something that'll make them use the technology we got, right? Right. So there's coronavirus. They put out the coronavirus, so it locks people at home, so they can use all the technology, right? So that transitions the people to be ready for, right? Oh, we don't have to all drive downtown. So it affects climate change. If you go to the white man's school, you'll accept his rationale. Instead of making a moral, ethical change, he said, here's what we do. And you're going to make $1 trillion off of it. All you do, let me see, who we want this to benefit? Oh, you sell stuff on the thing, right? So we're going to hook it up so you're going to get, you talking about concentration of wealth, everybody going to go broke, but not you and a few more of y'all. Pretty soon Amazon and Uber, not Uber, but whoever them people is that ship stuff, right? This Christmas, ain't nobody going to the store. Why? Because who the hell wants to go to a department store nowadays, right? And who cares about them? Sears and all them people. They care about themselves, but the big boss man, they right here on level 3, and they move pushing number 1. You want to put them out of business? You want to buy all their stuff up for free? Just here's what we do. And they do it. And pretty soon, everybody's at home, right? And who needs downtown? Well, we'll make downtown into housing so you can move up to a 100-story apartment. And we won't have to build nothing out in the woods anymore, right? Next year, 5 years, right? And all the streets, we'll just put trees on one side of the street and have one street you drive up and down, and the rest are big apartments, and we'll make it so neighborhood friendly that you could ride on a bicycle or you could walk every few blocks instead of you have to drive to the mall 100 miles away. Now you can walk, and we're going to have supermarket baskets because people got to work on their health, right? So they will think at the top, how are we going to get this thing and how are we going to fix up the environment? We got to fix the environment. So let's tell the people we're going to fix the environment. What? The people won't even listen if you say it's 300,000 people dead. All you got to do is change your behavior, right? They won't listen. Bump y'all, and then it's getting more and more and more dying. It's doubled up to where the other day was 3,000 people died. 3,000 in one day.
Wasn't that like this supposed to be the deadliest day in American history?
Yeah, it's more than this. It's the deadliest, yeah. But you ain't seen nobody, maybe 1 or 2 people got masks on. The rest of the people, you ain't gonna mess with my freedom. I'm American, I got a right to not wear a mask, right? And they're pushing that. Why are they pushing that? They're pushing that because the big people at the top say, we done already run the people over here. We cannot run them back to here. So we're going to have to kill off, I don't know how many, millions of them, right? And then that's who's dying anyway. Niggers, Indians, and Mexicans. Who wants them? Right? And old white folks. Well, if all the old white folks is gone, the niggas ain't gonna get no Social Security hardly. They was what, but all the old white folks. So who wants old white folks outside of the family, right? That's the way they think. And if we go to their damn school, we'll think like them. They'll say, they do it all the time. A war? Hey, nothing like a war, because there ain't none of us. We're going to go and keep the population down. And this one right now, this ain't nothing compared to the bubonic plague and those plagues in the old days. So why not create one? We got to, what they call it, cull the herd. Cull the herd. And cull the niggers. They're in the way. And Mexicans is worse than niggers because there's so many of them. Yeah, Mexicans. Reconquista, they've already done that over 20 years. The reconquest of America. Hey, man, you got a sweet view here. And the Mexicans moving, not Mexicans, but Latinos. Here is Salvadoreños and others. But California, they done already knocked that. Colorado, they done knocked it. The Latinos done knocked America. Arizona, Texas, Tijuana, the music, right? We're going to be singing in Spanglish in another minute because this is the way it's going. We done already had that. The Negro done had his chance. He will not be the favorite minority because he's not the big minority anymore. Latinos are. The point is, there's a moral standard. and his school teaches people their standard of morality and ethics. Well, that makes sense. So I know Sakina was telling me the other day, yeah, because that's what she's into. What's going on now is what she's into. Statistics and health care. So she'll go on and get a master's degree. It'll probably be in health management and what have you. And her friends say stuff like, she was telling me yesterday about her friends that are white kids. She said, I tried to be friendly with them white girls, but they would say things like, oh, all those hurricanes down at Puerto Rico, that used to be my favorite vacation, and my boyfriend and I, we were going to take our sailboat or our yacht down there. That's what she was telling me. Yeah, and we can't go down there. There ain't nobody said, well, they blew away 500 Puerto Ricans, 1,000, 10,000 Puerto Ricans, right? They don't say that. They said, the other one was about the Bahamas. Yeah, the Bahamas, there's so many hurricanes now that we can't go down there, and we have to go to, our, what's the name spot in Florida? They had some spot there. We have to, and they're oppressed, of course, they're oppressed, but they think like that. And you got to be thinking, well, what about the people? They don't care about the people. And there's enough of them. The higher up that level you go, the less you think about the people. The higher up that level you go, you could wonder, why would the vice president and the president lie so much? They picked liars. That vice president, half-Indian Negro woman, was a dictator in California. Kamala Harris, I got all my paperwork. Kamala Harris, if you don't send your children to school, we're going to put you in jail. Good God Almighty. As crooked as Negro children are, and you tell them, you got to go to school, Johnny, and Johnny said, now they cuss their parents out, but you can imagine they ain't even thinking about it. So they go take the mama and put her in school or cut her off welfare or do anything they want to, right? Or you're not paying your welfare payment, we're going to take your driver's license. This is insane. Well, where can you work without a driver's license? It's insane. Why? That's the way they think. And that niggas that go to their things, they fall right in line and say, yeah, that makes sense. And then even killing hundreds of thousands of people. What the heck? Actually, they don't say it openly, but, well, we are getting overpopulated. Yeah, we're getting overpopulated, and in fact, it's not killing enough.
I've heard it from immigrants that have come here, that America is letting too many immigrants come here.
Yeah, they'll pull up the ladder. Like Negroes, they pull up the ladder. Hey man, they got Mexicans on the border, the ones been here all the time. You go, like, when I get stopped, like if I'm going to California, sometime I go the southern route. So I'll get stopped at the border, not at the border, but I'll be stopped. They got crossings all the way along the border up into the, so you're going through a checkpoint, and I have a thing full of books and everything, and they'll say, you'll look at it, it'll be one white man, and the rest of the people are Mexicans. Why is that? Because the white man don't know the Mexicans, what they look like. But we know a nigga come from Alabama. Look at that nigga, got a big old floppy shirt on. And a Mexican too. These Mexicans here know the other Mexicans. White man, oh, they all look like Mexicans to me. Oh, they all niggas, right? They hire people. Look at the border control. The border control, all of those institutions are people that have been here, they done gave them a job and what have you, and they don't want any more Mexicans. Unless they came from the generation of the 80s when Ronald Reagan gave them an exemption, let them stay, That generation and the ones now, the dreamers, they want more Mexicans. Right? Or the ones that died now, the Chicano movement. You don't hear too much about that. See, we didn't call people in Mexicans in California. We call them Chicanos, all on the West Coast. They're Chicanos, that's the name. So a Chicano is a half nigger, you know what I mean? Yeah, and the Chicano movement. No, the Chicano, because see, we're that cut, all of our customs, we don't consider ourselves like each other, but if you watch how we are, low-riding cars, you think the Mexicans brought out low-riders. No, it wasn't. It was the Negro brought out low-riders. Yeah, the zoot suits, like Malcolm used to wear, it was us brought them out, and then Mexicans was wearing them. They stripped Mexicans butt naked almost in L.A. in the 40s, wearing them zoot suits, because they thought suckers arrogant. But anyway, people pulling up the ladder, they don't want nobody else to get up. It ain't enough room up here, man. It's like a lifeboat. Hey, man, the boat's full. You know, the boat's full. We can't take nobody else. Like the Titanic and all that. Half them lifeboats had plenty of room left. But the people sped on off. They said, we got to get out of here because them people out there drowning will be jumping all on board or whatever they can. So they go way out. Then they wait till after everybody froze to death and come back and say, anybody? It's about 2 people. Because you got 20 minutes in that North Atlantic. When a pilot used to get shot down, flying over Korea and all that in the water, hey, you got 20 minutes, homeboy, or you're going to be froze to death, right? That's just not hypothermia, but whatever it is, lower thermia, you know, hypo and hyper. Yeah, when you down, you got to, you know, you can't last in that. I don't know if anybody have ever jumped in the ice water before. No, what I remember better than anything is we was coming across the country. We went to a program. You know, at the end of the year, the summer camps closed for kids. So this was September. Yeah, I think it was September, maybe around 91. No, 81, 82. I was 81, 82. So we're going to a camp the Muslims are having up in the Rockies there, up in the mountains near Reno and all of that. That's Nevada, and then it was up in those mountains, Sierras. So that water is all melted snow. So we was down, not in the snow because it's September. Still, the weather outside is nice, but the summer camps are closed, and only the Muslims would want to use them. So, boy, this beautiful stream of this river, I got up on the rock, and I used to like to swim a lot. So and coming up, I was hollering, I believe, underwater. Because you know how at ice water, it felt like knives.
Yeah, it hurts.
I said, hey, man, when I come up out of that water, because the snow was right up there, a couple of miles up, and that water was so cold, it was just like running ice water. Hey, man, and I was hollering loud. And I said, I'm going to be very careful from now on about any water I jump into. Because I used to swim in that type of water, but it would be like 100 miles down the road. And the water is cool and then acclimatized and all that. But anyway, let me get back to these subjects right here. The thing about it is, Boss Man has an educational system. He has a whole system, and he'll replenish it with us. People he replenish it with, they will think like him, or somewhere close to it. And you study all the Negroes in them offices and everywhere. they got boss man's, you know, they ain't sitting in that office saying, well, we sure want to get some more Negroes in this office. Most of them are saying, we don't want another nigga in this office with us. And if the farther out you go, the more I'm the only Negro out here. And they like that. I'm this special Negro. I'm boss. Hey man, they like it out there. They love it. They love it. You know, I'll tell you a story. No, it's about Posey. I don't know if I'd probably told us 200 or 300. When I was in the penitentiary, I think I was in G Company, F Company was here, and I was a big kid. I was, you know, one of the, I guess I was 18. And it was out the last level of reform school. It's called Preston School of Industry. And there, the kids are 18, 19, maybe the youngest of young companies is 16 or 17. But these are young men, really, by that time. And the next step is Dual Vocational Institution, Soledad, and all them medium security prisons after that. So we would always march wherever we went. So I got into something that I didn't deserve to be in, and the captain told me, he said, you're a nice looking guy, you're just the nicest guy in town, and you could be like Posey. Now Posey was a drag boy, he had juice. He was looked like a pretty strong nigga out of LA, and black as tar, and he got a chance to walk around. Can you imagine those days, a transistor radio? That's when the Japanese brought them out. So small radio. You know, in the old days, radios, they had tubes. I guess y'all never saw the radios with vacuum tubes. Radio, they had tubes, big tubes. I mean, they big tubes. You couldn't carry that boy around. Plus, it wasn't no juice, batteries, things. Anyway, so the man told me, you could be like Posey, and this was natural. I just said to myself, I don't want to be like Posey. Everybody else would love to be that. He's a drag boy. He got juice with the white man. And he walks out of ranks. All the rest of us got to march, front dress, ready front, you know what I mean? We had to march everywhere. He walk out of ranks. That means I'm special nigga. Yeah, I don't have to do like y'all. But he had juice and drag, but he kept all the other niggas in line. He didn't know what he was doing. He just thought he was something special about him. The white man told him, well, you just a handsome nigga. He's the blackest nigga in the whole show. He's blacker than me and run around, you're handsome. Well, maybe handsome to white folks, but you ain't handsome to other niggas, I know that, you know. Not no tar baby. Yeah, that's what they used to call us, tar baby, jungle bunny, all them kind of. So anyway, this was a gift from God. This was not something that I thought up myself of oppression. And I just said, I don't want to be like Posey. And I never accepted that. Pretty soon I was in the penitentiary. And loving it, accepted Islam, or that stuff. And then when I was getting ready to go home, they gave me another year extension to make sure I got it drove into me. You know what I mean? If I'd have went home in 63, I'd have went out there doing like all the other young men. But I stayed to 65. All extra time just because of a little race ride is fine. And I went home at a good time when that stuff had disciplined me. So I didn't come out drinking wine because I didn't drink. In fact, I became a vegetarian because the white man would put extra, like if you had spaghetti and meatballs, which calls for ground beef, right? The white man, instead of 100 pounds of ground beef, he'd put 5 pounds of pork in there and let you know it. you know. So I stopped eating meat and anything with meat in it, just because that's what he was doing. You're going to try to make me, the same thing with Arabic. They're saying, you can't be a good Muslim if you don't know Arabic. So I backed away from it. I resisted learning Arabic. Because they telling me, unless I learn this, I ain't going to be able to be a good Muslim. So I said, we'll see about all of that. In other words, it's a certain strain it's a resistance strain. And if you get it, you're going to resist certain things. And that's not something that you've earned, that's a gift. But as you develop it, in order to get anywhere where you're trying to go, you're going to need more and more of that, and you get better and better and better until pretty soon you're having fun resisting. Everybody else, they whining, they crying. And when we look at the world, I'm going to try to wrap it up. When we look at the world, I was just listening about in Jordan Valley, they just bulldozed I don't know how many houses today. And the guy was saying, I was out here and I just had a 2-week-old baby and we're living in a donated tent. We spent one day out in the rain with just a brand new baby. And that's the way Israelis treat our people. Hey man, can you imagine? We be whining about a little, well, they just say fix the sink in 6 months. Suppose you build a whole house. They come by and bulldoze it. And they do it over and over and over again. Them people got resilience, man. They got tenacity. I'm telling you that people look at us and they think, man, I wouldn't want to be in that show over there. Well, they done moved us right where we want to live. We live in the exact neighborhood we want to live in. This is the best, you can get it, the best spot, you can make more influence, and you can do more good, and we got more access to people's mind that if they get switched, they can affect the world. And that's why we're here. That's why we don't have no second thoughts about nothing we're dealing with. And just like it says, have fun. And that's what we're doing. We're having fun because I was looking at, in not Bosnia, but Chechnya. I was right up on the Russia. They was in Grozny. It's like 20 below zero or something like that. I don't know. But they wasn't even living in the houses, and they was. It reminded me of in Denmark when I used to go down. I lived in a place called Roskilde. Roskilde was where the kings of Denmark used to live. And it's about 20 minutes from Copenhagen. Now it's probably a part of the city. And I used to walk down the street going to the metro, and I saw all the little babies, if they was 1 year old to about 2 years old, they was outside of the house in those little carriages. The white folks put the little kids out there, and they had the little bells, and the kids just laying there, all bundled up. And that's where they put them. I said, man, these people is cruel. But I looked, I said, all the white folks put all their little white babies out there. And then I saw construction workers. You know what clogs are? They got their back out. I saw all them white construction workers and everything with clogs on in the winter. I said, look at these. Then I looked at it, I said, oh, they've acclimatized them little babies. They've been out here all the time, and me and you standing there freezing. In Grozny, I would look at when they was at Grozny, Chechnya and all, I was looking at the temperature. I said, man, that's 20 degrees below zero, and 20 degrees above, which frees us to death, right? 0, the nigga is paralyzed at that temperature, right? And they out there not with shirts on, but they out there just fighting and cruising. I said, if the white man could get that temperature over here, he would paralyze us, the movement, just with the temperature, right? He wouldn't have to do nothing, just swoop in, just had a big freezing machine to blow down that cold air, and the niggas will say, goodbye. Hey man, I can't take, right? It's just, it's what you acclimatize for. The immigrant is not acclimatized for here. He's acclimatized for back home. He didn't like it, so he came over here. When he came over here, it was so much better than back home, he don't want to bother these people. He love it. And you imagine, he loves it. Me and you don't like it. Because everything, the last, the lowest, and the lost, is we get that. So we want to change America, right? We don't like it. Well, some do, excuse me. They got enough Negroes that really like it. I mean, they're serious about it because they will ignore. Some of the people will totally ignore all the stuff that's going on in the world because the white man told them to. The white man said, this is better here for you, and you work with me. That means they'll go against their family, their friends, and everybody, because the white man said it's all right, and it's the best. And he'll roll his statistics in. Well, if you do it our way, we'll cull the herd, and we'll only kill 30 or 40 million people. This is all. But for the greater good, why, we'll have, it's 300 million people in America, 300, something like that. 330, that's right, 330. And we're just going to get rid of the 30 million. And there, after all, now you got to remember, when we screen down to 30 million, that's going to be niggers. You can see that, right? Mexicans, Chicanos, old white folks, right? It's part of nature. If we lived in nature, right, the old animals would get eaten up just like the young animals get eaten up by if they can't run fast enough, right? This is nature. This is nature. We call the herd. We got to call the herd. We got to kill that. And it's not kill. It's divesting them of life. Something that's just going to divest them of the life force function. Well, they got some name for it. And this ain't going to be bad because you're not actually killing them. It's only just depriving them of a life force function, which, right? It sounds like, hey, that makes sense. And it's real. And it makes it better for us. And you can't change them anyway. Remember, if this 300,000 people already dead and they won't stop mass, suppose you tell them you got to cut back on electricity, you can't go to the store and get all them 100 groceries and you're going to throw 30 of them away, right? You can't stop them from doing that. So you have to grow more to feed them, and you can't make them run off all that weight. But if we could get them to where is stores close to them, we turn all them big tall buildings into neighborhoods so they can come down on the elevator and they can get a nice big wheeled cart and push it 2 or 3 blocks, right? Not now. You got to drive up to the Shoppers, all them places way up there. You can't, technically, you can walk there, but that's a ways off. Suppose we just want them to walk 2, 3 blocks a day, and they can push and talk to everybody, and right? And because you can't make them wear a mask. So how the hell are you going to make them walk that fat off? Right? That makes sense. And you look at the people, you say, that's right. They won't stop the president's Junior so-and-so got coronavirus. The lawyer got coronavirus. The spokesperson got coronavirus. Everybody got coronavirus. He still said, "That ain't no, they don't wear no mask," right? And the people are saying, "We're not going to wear no mask." And they got millions of people running around talking about, "We don't wear no mask." And they got a no mask movement going on. Yeah, they have a no mask movement. We ain't going to do that. You can't make us do nothing. So if you try to get them, tell them it's good for them, they ain't going to listen. It's good for you to walk just a quarter mile, half a mile. No, just start easy. Just 5 blocks. We're going to have everything there for you. He ain't going to do it. He'll get in the car and drive down there. Like we do now, right? You got to go 5 blocks. You know, walk 5 blocks? Heck no. You drive. But when we was kids, we walked miles a day. We walked everywhere. Everything we did was anti-fat, right? When you're a kid, when I was growing up, they didn't have no automatic carts or nothing. You get you a plank like this, right? You get you another plank like this. You put a seat on it. You put wheels on it, right? And you put a rope on the front with a nail right here, and you pull it this way and go that way, and you got this nice wheels on there from skates or whatever you run across or stole them, and you got a nigga behind you. He push you. Right, he push you. Right, and you can't get fat like that. All the kids are doing that stuff, breaking all the windows, playing baseball. Now they go outside, they produce a lifestyle where you could sit at this thing all day and push buttons. You got to get fat because the people say you got to have 3 meals a day and how about 2, 3 snacks, right? Here at our school, they had the snacks was like a lunch. I said, you going to do that to the kids? They're going to get that habit. They got lucky and they some kind of way. But I said, hey, cookies and milk, y'all having real meals here. You know what I mean? A snack. That's not a snack, that's a meal. Okay, anyway, but it makes sense, right? They're only not going to listen. But if we do it this way, why, Mr. Bezos, you're going to get super rich. Because we're not going to tell them we're going to do it. We're just going to make them do it. That's all. In the department store, who needs a department store? That was 500 years ago. They was copying the bazaars over in Turkey and Iran. They had the you might as well call it the big grand bazaar. It was like a department. Everybody had a stall. You go over here, you want furniture, you go over here, you want, right? So the department store, they didn't invent nothing. Okay, that was good for way back then, 100 years ago, even 50 years ago, but now it's not needed, right? The mall, the whole idea is a big bazaar, right? Okay, we don't need that anymore. Now we need this, that, and other. All those old type of places, Sears, whatever they have, Capwell, not Capwells. What's all them big old places? Macy's, they're all big, what do they call them? Brick and mortar. Who needs them? Okay, times do change, but they're telling the people, you stick with us and we'll make them change, and you're going to get billions for it. And all them other stores, all the money you make, you could buy up all the stores and make them skating rings and whatever else you want to do, right? Concentration of wealth. If they run all them people crazy, remember the 3rd or 4th level down of wealth, Macy's and all them places, they're down on the level or low level. But now these big producers, why, you can get all the stuff just ordered from them. And the people are lazy, right? Not because they wanted to, because you didn't make them that way. Oh, you didn't train them. Just order this right here. I see even certain families, the mail is something coming every day in the mail. I said, why don't you just go down and get it. So they order, without thinking, that they putting their cousin out of work, right? If the Negro has got Negroes down there at Macy's and everywhere else, right? At least 30, 40% of them is Negroes. Why, if they order offline, and the way them things is like worse than being in the military. They got a camera on you.
Military,
Slavery. It's some, I said, they working, and then you can't take no breather. You can't say, this is, look, talk about old time slavery. If the boss wasn't looking, at least you could lean on the hole a little bit. And if he had you doing a certain job, you could go hide under a tree or something like that. And then the people are hollering, here come boss man. And then you can get back to work. But you can't do that now. They got a camera on you. Look, this is cruel.
There was some news I was reading about Amazon. One of the things you know about a lot of these tech companies, like on all of their boards, you have a former spook. Now at Amazon, they were getting blasted because they were using a lot of surveillance and spyware in order to monitor employees, in order to subvert strikes and employee,
Right.
organization and everything. So, you you might be complaining with your, with another coworker about
Yeah.
something, word will get back. They have spies deployed amongst the employees to just sniff out rebellion and everything. They do this on those.
Yeah, it's just now. It's just high tech now. They always been had snitches and everything. I watched Chicago 7. You technically would have been. I watched it last night. I said, well, let me watch it. So I enjoyed it. It was about the trial, in Chicago in '68 or something. Same year Fred Hampton got killed. They had that on the movie, and they had Bobby Seale. This is the only trial in America, I believe, where the person on trial was gagged and bound. Yeah, it really happened in an American courtroom. I mean, you can be gagged and bound, but it don't look like it. You got a public defender and all that, so you might as well be just handcuffed. And they had Ramsey Clark. They got him to testify, but the court didn't hear it. The jury didn't hear it. So Ramsey Clark said, yeah, the Nixon administration was in then. He said, we investigated this and we found out that the Chicago Police Department started all of these riots. And then they showed all the people. This lady was a police FBI agent. The other police was a Chicago policeman, and every one of them had incited this stuff to happen. And they had all them guys, Jerry Rubin, them, and all of them, whatever they was. And actually, they lost the case, but then they won it again later on. The point is that sabotage, infiltration have been a part of government policies since the time of the ancient kings. But now it's just that human aspect, but also high-tech technology.
Make it glamorous.
Uh-huh.
By showing it on movies and on TV.
Yeah.
They make it glamorous and acceptable.
Acceptable and exciting, because you don't see the police as bad people. And when you go to the police, they're killing everybody, but it's for all a good reason. And even you wind up putting up with the bad, what they call bad cops. But they be shooting. Hey, anyway, the point is, I'm not even getting to half of what we want to say, and I'm going to move toward a close. But a few things I want to mention. On this month, the 25th of December, we're going to have a program on climate change. In fact, Sakina is going to talk, my daughter, because she actually takes us. This is what she studies at the university. And then I'll have a short talk myself. That'll be enough. And we'll talk a little bit about, yeah.
December the 25th is a Friday. Did you want to keep it like a Friday afternoon, or did you want to do it like on Thursday the 24th?
That's something to think about. I tell you what, we're going to write. I'm going to ask you to type up a little flyer where it's only about 20 copies. We're not going to, one of our flyers. Thursday is the 24th, right?
Thursday is the 24th, yes.
That's Christmas Eve. Friday. Yeah, let's do it on the 24th.
Okay.
Let's do it on the 24th because, We'll do it on the 24th. I'm glad you reminded. I was looking on the calendar and I thought Thursday was the 24th.
Well, I thought so too, and because
It was the 25th.
yeah, well, I was telling my wife about it. You know, she had told some of the two sisters that were at sisters class yesterday about it, and then she had also was telling me, yeah, the 25th is on Friday. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. We'll do it on Thursday.
Okay.
We'll do it on Thursday, and that'll be perfect. That'll be perfect. But it'll be a reasonable talk, and then we'll talk about our next 2021, kind of an outline for 2021. Now, you got to realize that 2020, just for the heck of it, think about how accurate we was on 2020. You know, for 2020 vision and all of that. It's not only for us, for everybody, 2020 has been serious. Okay. I like one thing that Bill Clinton, I was listening to one of his talks on leadership the other day, and he said, just because you're paranoid, don't mean they're not out to get you. Right? Well, you can imagine his life and the Republicans and his impeachment and what was it, Whitewater, and plus they thieves anyway. You know, Hillary and them. And they didn't even bring up Foster. Remember Foster? He popped up dead because he might have been messing with Hillary. So, the old president, he might have didn't mind messing with other white women, but he didn't, and black ones too, whatever he could get his hands on. But he didn't want nobody messing with Hillary. And to this day, you know what Hillary looked like then and what she was shaped. I don't know what he found. And one thing about Bill, he was an equal opportunity fornicator. Did you see them women he used to mess with? They had noses. They was from Arkansas too. Boy, them was ridge running white girls. I'm telling you, they was, you know how their hair used to look back in the 90s. I said, now Hillary, not that we paid no attention, but Hillary was actually shapely and fair to look at. And I said, what does he see? Jennifer Flowers, what was all the white? I said, good God Almighty, they'd show them on TV. I said, what's wrong with the one he had at the White House? You know, what was wrong with her? But I guess she was too smart for him. You know, like if a woman dominates you like you don't feel manly toward her, you know, and she might be calling you stupid and everything like that. You know, he might have felt smart, but everybody else was stupid at home. I get a feeling that's what it was. No, it was something like that because he couldn't find nobody no more standard. Anyway, that's his business. Now she didn't turn mean. She was a nice hypocrite. She wrote books on it takes of a village. You know what I mean? She was a nice hypocrite. You know.
Who a mentor is?
Who was that?
Madeline Albright is a mentor.
Oh my goodness. The lady that they used to, I think she was the last one talking about she was a Holocaust survivor or something like that.
I don't know if she said she was a Holocaust survivor.
Or her parents was, something like that. Yeah, I think well, that's the way it go. Okay. Combined historical knowledge. We'll talk about that later. Challenge and adversity equal opportunity. You know, we want to continue that line. That the stuff that it's a challenge in adversity. But one thing I like about the translation, Muhammad Assad, he uses that word adversity over and over again. And adversity for us means opportunity. Nobody else would want our job. It seems kind of strange that nobody would want our job, none of the Negroes, nobody want our job. That's fine. We like it. We'll take it, you know. We will pass up on Afghanistan, Iraq, Soleimani, Arab Spring. Now you got to remember the accuracy on all of these subjects that we're talking about. Libya, Yemen, Syria. Okay, leading through adversity. That should be enough for today. And we'll close with encirclement and suppression is a constant theme of history. Oppressor and the oppressed. We would have been classified some decades ago as the oppressed, but we're not oppressed. We have to deal with things on a daily basis, but we're not the oppressed. We're not the oppressed anymore because we have a certain amount of influence on our own history. And the longer we live, the more influence we're gaining. So we are giving Boss Man the blues. And inshallah, we'll keep that up. Aqula kali hada wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Do we have any questions or comments?
Can we as Muslims slander other people whom is not our religion, be called white, black, yellow, green, etc., to direct people to distinguish ethnicity in towards another group of people? I don't know
What it means? Well, first of all, when we use what they call ethnic terms, we have said hundreds of times before that we want to help rescue those people from whether it's the coronavirus, whether it's opiates and all of that. So we're clear on that. If we use the term sometime like cracker, white folks, well, technically from my generation, I don't know what to call people. If they're white, I don't know what to call them other than white folks. Okay. And then I don't think there's any group in America no more homogenized in attitude than ours. Homogenized in attitude that we work in our neighborhood, we're here, but we don't limit ourselves to thinking about it, just listening to our lectures. The whole world, we're part of the world community. And we don't like to see suffering and slavery nowhere. That's why we'll talk about Palestine today. We'll talk about Chechnya tomorrow, or all in the same lecture. So I don't know what the person is talking about, but there's no bar for us. We don't have any ethnic hatred, because all the people are part of God's creation, and they didn't make themselves Mexican or white. They had nothing to do with it, right? So we can't blame people for anything that they didn't have nothing to do with. We can't get a certificate from creation saying we was made special because we was black, right? Or they ain't no good because they is white. We don't do that. So I don't know what the person means, but I'd like to just clarify that we are solidly in the humane camp as far as humanity as a whole is concerned. Was there anything else?
That was it. It was, brothers gave salam. Someone said, I wish you good luck.
That's what I wish. How about I wish all of us good luck? Not just us.
No, the humanity. No, we living in a serious time, man. It's like, can you imagine? They just got I was watching TV today, they just got the global something, or they had old Al Gore on, and they got all this climate stuff, the program we have, man, they realizing that we ain't got but 3-4 more weeks left around here, that if we keep going, within 1 or 2 years, the momentum of decline will catch in nature, and the way you destroy one system after another, hey man, now, for me, I don't like that. It's like, I didn't like that when they used to have everybody get a shelter, bomb shelter. When we was kids, they'd have go run in the bomb shelter, and our life seemed like they was in Russia's hands or the US's hands, right? And then they would show on the damn TV what a bomb would do, and they tell niggas to get under their desk. Can you imagine? Duck and cover. It was ridiculous. It was, wait a minute. The thing, if it's 10 miles away, it's going to burn all of that. They're going to have a 100 megaton bomb, has a fireball 10 miles wide. 10 megatons, 50 megatons, the fireball is 5 miles. Well, if you 1 inch from the fire, you're going to burn up. If you're a foot from the fire, you're going to burn up. That means if the fireball is over here, if you 20 miles away, you're going to be zapped. I mean, what do they have it when you just go vaporize? The people in Japan with them little bombs was vaporized.
I saw, when you had the video playing, you would see the outline of people up against walls.
Hey, man, that used to be a little scary. So we got over that. I ain't letting them white folks scare me. If they want to blow, you got mad, mutually assured destruction, then you kill everybody. We get zapped, and it won't take but 2 seconds. We be just, whoop, here we are laughing and talking, and boom, we ain't no more. So, but then with this climate thing, it's kind of creeping back. It's not a fear, it's a discomfort. With them having the power, and we can't do nothing unless we get really organized, and they got things to keep you from getting organized, right?
And they're only doing it for their own pocket. They're not really doing it to save humanity. They're doing it to make sure they have control, like you talked about, over the situation, so the Bezos and everybody else will profit from it.
These white folks are so mean that if they can get the earth back to wilderness area, they would have America where it'd be, the population of America would be 5 or 10,000 people, where they could go fly fishing every day, right? Or they could go hunting. If it was up to them, hey, they'll get rid of it. If they can get the earth back to where they can put on their boots and go fly fishing every day and catch big trout naturally and all of that, they would like to have America as a big game reserve and just enough people around to go fix it up, keep it, So anyway, are there any more questions or comments?
Yes, this was a brother. He has said, as always, I enjoyed listening and seeing you, my old friend. His name is Majid Al-Tafi. He said, thank you, brother, with the fist bump. And then he said, if we consider ourselves as oppressed people, aren't we cutting off ourselves from oppressed people and its effect on them? This is my question about your earlier statement.
If we're considering ourselves as oppressed people,
Yeah, we consider ourselves as oppressed people. Aren't we cutting ourselves from oppressed people and its effect on them? Like if we pay attention to our oppression, are we cutting ourselves off from?
I don't even remember calling ourselves oppressed. I said that we were oppressed back in the day, but we have evolved. In other words, if you think about what we do, what we've done, the system has the ability to divert attention, to slow work down here, to do all of that. But we accept that as a challenge. We're glad. We say we're happy to do that. We're happy. You just keep on doing that. You try to sabotage or divert, slow us down. In other words, we like that. The best way I can answer that is we encourage that. Why do we encourage that? We encourage that because of what the thing says. Out of adversity comes evolution and improvement. And we're not fighting this now for today. We're fighting this for the very near future. What that means is we are involved in this struggle now, not for today, but for where we're going to be in the future. And that's why we encourage on ourselves light oppression. Why? Because adversity, challenge improves resistance, improves behavior, it improves thinking, all of that. And it improves character too. So let's say if we was good in 1980, well, we was better in 1990. If we was better in 1990, by now we have really moved several stages away from that to where you would have to say from the Quran, from the Hadith, it talks about goodness and righteousness and what have you. And on everything that we're faced with, whether it's people, whether it's the environment, we move on a higher level and a level of forgiveness and all that than we did before. In a real way, because that's what we're going to need. The government may slow up on its, not oppression, but adversity, because it studies you and it says, well, when we do stuff that's adversity, them niggas get smarter and better, and okay, so we're going to pull back. We don't let them. We keep agitating. We do it on purpose. What we do now, we do it on purpose. So, according to the first thing, we are not oppressed right now. Other people are oppressed. But we are affected by the system, but we are affected in the way we want. Since we have learned how to manipulate and affect the system, we used the word domesticated before. That means that you got a cow, yeah, you milk the cow, you drink the, right? That's domesticated, right? Okay, so we have domesticated the system. This is impossible for other people to understand because they don't believe that you can do that. We know we've done it because we have had the opportunity. We know where we are because we constantly examine. We test over and over again. Redundancy, remember we do this over and over. That's all we do. Right? I don't do anything else. I go run up a little hill, lift a little weights, and I read, and then every now and then I watch a TV program or I watch the news. But I don't do anything else. I don't do anything else. That's all I do. That means that the only thing that's running through, you know what I mean, is what's going on in the world. So on my phone, if you see it, I got the BBC, I got the Iran news, I got Turkish news, I got all of that. So when I ain't got nothing, when we go right now, they have Sunday programs, State of the Union, all that. You can turn on you can listen to all of it. So I'll go run, lift the little weights, and then I'll go kick back and take out my thing. You can see the notes and just listen to all of that, what they're saying. Why do we do that? Because remember, when we talked about public radio and all of this stuff, we have learned how to dissect where they're going just by listening to them. We don't have to have all this Turkish stuff and Iranian news. We know what they're saying, how they space it, and all of that. We know what they're getting ready to do, right? We know what they've done, but based on, we don't have to even, you get so down with it that you don't have to even have that up, but we're going to listen to it. We're going to check it out. So I believe we have evolved to a high level of humanity. And I believe, well, I can speak about myself. I don't have no animosity about people anymore. I don't care what racial, ethnic group that you're talking about. I don't have it anymore. The Islam scrubs it out. It just scrubs it out. So personally, now, maybe I'm like one of them people that talk about their grandparents. I don't know if you've heard, starting about 10 or 15 years ago, the grandparents, when they're talking to their grandchildren, would use terms that they grew up with. So if they talked about Italians, they said the Greece is this and that. But they don't, this is what so the kids would say, like my kids tell me, the young ones, not the older ones, the young ones say, Dad, they're not crackers and peckerwoods. I said, they're white people. What do you want me to call white people if I don't call them white? Y'all must have some other way you refer. Because they do. They refer to people now. The people in their late teens and early 20s, they really refer to, they're close to a human family. Yeah. I mean, they know what's going on. Like kids tell me, I tried to get these white girls, but they was talking about how sad they was that they can't go to Puerto Rico this year because they used to sail their yacht down there. And they don't, Dad, they didn't even say about the people of Puerto Rico. And in the class, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans in their class. I said, they never thought about it. I said, that's the way they are. People are affected by what affects them. And the weather affects them because they can't go down and sail around the damn ocean in the tropics, right? That's how it affects them. You see what I mean? I said that to say this. What everybody calls oppression, for them it's oppression. For us, it's manipulating the system. So we don't take it as oppression. Example, have you ever seen me depressed? or sad, or, oh man, I might have fun. I said, boy, the old mean old white man. And I mean, the stuff he be doing, it like hurts. You can see me get up and walk sometime. I said, boy, the mean old white man, that boy be busy. Or I can drink a cup of coffee one day and it wakes me up, and if I drink it again, he then got in my coffee and did something to it, and now it puts me to sleep. The same thing. I don't call that oppression. I call that I done manipulated him. Because half of the things that happen, might as well say, with us, I affect them as much and more than they affect me. Because they can't make me do anything. They can't do nothing to make me, I'm going to go run over here and run over there. When they have the Negroes on there trying to talk crazy, they're trying to make me respond to them. It don't have no effect. Okay, but anyway, is that about?
Someone else came with a question.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
They asked, Imam Musa, thank you for your service in speaking truth. As a Muslim in the suburbs, what can I do to inform my neighbors of the injustices we talk about and know about and care about, especially with the new Muslim alliances with Zionism?
Well, the new Muslim alliance with Zionism. Okay. Do y'all remember when I was talking about, we met at, what's that hotel downtown? It's a big hotel. Brother Abdul Haq and I went to it. No, it's an old hotel right there by Freedom Square, something like that. I'll think of it in a minute. But we went down to that hotel. First of all, they had the first wave, they had third wave, remember they had all that stuff, the jihad and all that. The third jihad, they distributed 28 million. That's what they said. It was CDs or DVDs or a mixture. And they had us portrayed on that. So, this was the Zionist. The stuff that be happening to us a lot in recent years is the Zionist. The Zionists are different than the Americans. If the Americans, if you kind of let boss man know, well, boss man, you know what I mean? You could trick him easy if you know the old Negro approach to the Reconstruction attitude, the Jim Crow attitude. Okay, I know that. The last days, the Jim Crow era, I was born right in the middle of it. And I understand the Reconstruction attitude because my father and other people were born in that period and they transferred, right to me. I understand. In other words, Abdul Malik said it one time, we got arrested for not having an ID in Oakland. They was just doing it to see what we would do. And Abdul Malik watched how I dealt with the police. And the guy's name was Michael. I said, well, Michael, what do you think about the IRA and stuff like that? And this was a long time ago. He didn't know what I was talking about. I said, the IRA, Irish Parliament. So then first of all, Abdul Malik wanted to know, how did I know he was Irish? Well, with Michael as a name, and looking at that person, I'd have to be stupid not to know that he was Irish, you know what I mean? Because that's an Irish name. Michael Collins, Michael this, Michael that, So he said, you can do anything you want with those guys. Well, I've been around them all my life. So I have to know that he's a police. Okay, what did I do know what to do. I don't have to challenge him. I could, oh, boss man, you know what I mean? Da, 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 da. I could do anything I want. Okay, so I know how to interact with them, and he wanted to know how did I know that? Well, it comes natural. So, back to the point. When we went as far as we need to go in standing up to the white man or saying, take me to your little old stupid jail. Da, da, da. We don't have to prove those points no more. That's with the American white man. The Israeli, I think I might have mentioned when Abdul Haq was here, and we had some old Zionists now with old Americans. You know, it was a couple of reporters here that was almost my age. Okay, they was from California. One of them was from California. So he said, man, I was visiting my family in Virginia, and he was laughing at him, saying, man, when they talk about the Civil War, it's not like us. When we talk about the Civil War, it was way back then, and he said, when they talk about it, it was Uncle Bud and all of them. It's like it just happened like last year, 5 years ago. You know what I mean? That's the way they are. During his time, if that was 15 years ago, the Southerners was just moving out of that mentality. Okay. So if a white person I was involved with, I could measure him and tell a few jokes, do anything, and then make a bond with him. Well, at a certain age, we was both back in the 60s, we was both, you know what I mean, and so I can push around to see how much weed he smoked, did he take acid, you know what I mean? I'll get to the point after a while, you know, I may just do it by being self-deprecating about myself. Man, well, me too. You ain't seen nothing yet. I had a cousin, they would just do this. You know what I mean? You can get to them. But them people down there at not the Wilford or the Milford or Willard Hotel. We was at the Willard. So the white people, them same ones that wanted to have a meeting with me, they called themselves, the guy called me in California and said, we're gonna have I said, well, who are you anyway? He said, we're an independent organization. So that meant independent, kind of a poor, you know, just we want to do this interview, we could sell it to somebody, we could do this, but we're independent. So I said, yeah, I'll meet you, I'm gonna go back to DC. So when I got back here, when we went down to the Willard Hotel, first of all, Independence, Willard Hotel, $600 a night. You know, that little stuff, you know, for a room this big, it's no problem. Then I saw they had 3 or 4 rooms. And then they had equipment all outside and everything. So before I started doing the interview, the guy said, hey, we'd like for you to just sign this thing here. I said, what is that, know something or other? Yeah. I said, so you guys are an independent organization, huh? Well, we are on loan to CBS or somebody. I said, oh, okay, just wanted to find out. But they had 2 recorders. So I leaned over, Brother Abdul Haq and I was both watching. Abdul Haq and I are similar age, he's a little bit older. So we was discussing those 2 guys. I said, man, I kept trying to hit at them and drop a little of this and drop a little of that. And them boys was looking straight ahead. They didn't want to hear nothing colored or ha, ha, ha. So Abdul Haq said, those was Israelis, man. Because they couldn't, you know, connect on nothing you was talking about. Because he was watching me, trying to connect with them and trying to get a few laughs. Hey, they didn't even know who the hell I was talking about. They was Israelis. And I'm trying to tell you, Israelis control this the movements and the actions and the thinking of America right now. America controls it. Technically, from my experience, we could do better with the old Southern white man, because at least I know how to, oh, boss man, put it, not the Israelis. You're this, you said that, you know what I mean? They send them guys with cameras, hidden cameras, and you can see, and they got that in their mind, and they put out 28 million CDs or DVDs with us in at least 2 sessions. They had 3 sessions of them. And they had us there, and they, first they was trying to crush us that way, like they did some of the other people. And they found out, you can't crush me with whatever you say. I don't care. That's one of the beautiful things. I don't care what they say. I don't care what you say. You don't run nothing in my life. And then they stopped. If you notice, they pulled back the whole crew. What was it? Hannity. It was Steve Emerson, Daniel Pipes, and one more. But they're Zionists. Abe Foxman. I used to be the man, he would talk about me like he was talking about his cousin or somebody. Right, Abe Foxman from the APAC and all that other stuff. He's the #1 Zionist. ADL, yeah, I'm trying to tell you, okay, on the question about the Zionists and it was something in there about their control.
How Israel, I guess, Israel is
controlling and manipulating the flow of everything.
He wants to know, how can he inform his neighbors about what we talk about here, especially about how Muslims are forming alliances with Zionists. Right.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay. That's going to take work. In fact, that's exactly what we're trying to do. First of all, it's going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take tons of patience. It's getting close to Maghrib, right?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it is Maghrib, actually.
It's already Maghrib? Okay, well, we'll just squeeze it a little just before it's actually dark. We'll do Asr and Maghrib. But this, it's not innovation or nothing. It's just we got caught up in the spirit of the time. Okay, what do we do trying to inform the people about who the real enemies of America is? Our first approach here has been clearly the white people themselves, the FBI and those type of people, hoping that we can snag 5, 10, 15%. Because sometimes you need official clarification. We're trying to help boost them up to give them the courage. Remember, they don't like to be controlled by external forces either. They don't like that. The more, excuse the term, the more cracker they are, the more real Republican they are, the less they like that. But they can't do anything about it. It's the media, it's the this, it's the that. Okay, if we can encourage, which we're visibly trying to do, if we can encourage more and more of the people within the system to become whistleblowers, activist type people, that means they officially card-carrying people. They have access to everything we know, but they have access to dates and times, and they can say they did this, that, and other. That's the first step that we're actually doing now, and we have been doing it. We cannot measure exactly what the effect is because they don't raise their hand and say, we with you and all of that. But we know that there are some people within the system that are with us. Because remember, we're not a threat to white people. We never have been, right? And they know, well, those are our niggas there. If we help, if we can get them niggas to help us, if we can arrange, now this is them now, if we can arrange platforms for them niggas to tell that story, we can dribble out or we can lose official data. You know what I mean? Prearranged data that we give this hacker or that hacker, whatever, that is official. Right? So one of the things is that we're working on is for them to develop the trust that they say we can do it. And the nigga are not gonna go down and get all this fame and fortune and double crosses. Well, it takes time. It takes time. It sounds crazy, but we have a few options in this. We don't have a whole lot of options. Now, we have to think what is the best and the less destructive. What saves lives, what saves the most lives, and what makes the environment better after the transition or during the transition to save lives, to make it smoother, and to have less hatred and everything. We have to do that. Other people think we ought to just go burn everything down. But if we've evolved to the other position, we have to look at all other rebellions and what have you, and we have to look and see what happens after transitions. We have to look at Africa after colonialism, right? We have to look at America after the Constitution. We have to look all over the world and see what happens after, because we feel certain that that after is close by. We feel the rate of decline is right around the corner. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. The rate of decline, the momentum of the system going down reaches a certain point. Okay, where do we want to be in that? We want to be where we can have a positive effect. Why? Because if there's killing, if there's murder, if there's bombing, if this one white person get killed, it's going to be 30, 40, or 50 black people, right? And if we don't make the right transition, if we don't transform the ethics and values at the same time, when the Negro comes in power, he'll all of a sudden, he'll talk about integration today and love, 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 but he get in power, hey man, he'll go pick out a couple of them old movies and watch how it was, and then he'll be back, him and his Negro friends, and they'll want to finish off all the white folks. After all, they deserve it, right? We don't want that. We got a picture of a new world, and we want to be a part of that in the way that history has shown. No, history haven't shown that, but history have given hints about what are the possibilities of things working out to where we can influence the direction of change. That's why we're making the decisions that we're making. Not based, we already know, history didn't show this is what happened. You African, good. As soon as you get power, you're gonna do this, you're gonna get you a red car and all that, and you're not gonna do, it's an old joke I tell you when I go make wudu and but anyway, that's the message we have for what do you tell the people who have worked with the Zionists, we can show them as an example. We have been here all of this time, and we're not fazed by Ridwan Jaka out there at Adams and all, and Margbag America out in Manassas, and everybody else, Mass, and everybody, and over there, northeast, northwest, wherever you find them, they're not here. They're not coming by saying, well, Imam Musa, we've been paying attention to you. Seem like y'all been on the money over there. Quite accurate. So we'd like to cooperate with you. They don't say that. They work harder against the boss man, the American FBI, because the FBI was sending a message when they came by here. It was several messages in one. But one of them is that when he was leaving, he said, well, you don't have to worry about us anymore. So what do you mean? Well, this, that, and other. So I got a ticket on the plane. I come back here, and I got on the plane 2-3 times. And I was waiting for him to go through, well, Mr. Reams, you have to sit over there, stand on that line, or spin around in circles. They didn't do nothing. I said, they just took my ID. Okay, you can go. I said, just a minute. I'm not used to this. I almost said that. But I said, what's wrong with y'all? Then I just remembered, well, the white folks said. So you got to be patient. Here's what's happening. There will come a time very soon where everybody, this is an accounting within this period of time, where they will realize, that the Zionists are more deadly than niggers. Because the Zionists make us do stuff we don't want to do. The niggers, they can't make us do nothing. That's the way they think. We're the white man. If the niggers get out of line, we'll throw some cutie pies. And now the cutie pies, everybody is, you see all the commercials? Every little girl is yellow. I said, what's wrong with that? I said, man, these is 2 generations yellow children here. That's the new, I said, what happened? They worse than, remember they used to have all the dance and show. They had the same brown paper bag test for showgirls and dancers back in the 30s and the 40s. Yeah, you couldn't join no dancing and kicking show, you know what I mean? Showgirls, you don't see no darkies on there. Well, now, not at all, and it's worse now because they got the Negroes. Every other commercial got a Negro with a white woman. You see them? I said, good God Almighty, what about reckless eyeballs just looking at them? But one thing, it humanizes everybody. That, I don't want to change the subject, but that takes a lot of stress off people. You know what I mean? So for instance, if you're a white woman and you got a Negro, a darky, well, he thinks you're special, right? And that there's all kind of special, that means that, hold it, you got to say, hold it. I am a female, I am a lady, I am a this, that, and other. But I didn't come from heaven. That puts a lot of pressure on, and then the Negro find out, man, that's just a good. You just a good, just like all these other, who's, right? Right? That takes a lot of pressure. And then on the Negro, she thinking, that Negro's one of them studs, and she's thinking, this Negro gonna hook me up tonight. And you just like any other man. They didn't put, the people have pressure on themselves that don't make sense. So right now, life is taking that direction. But again, I'll say like this. We have to just become more humane. And the way we wake people up and the Arabs up or whoever they are. The immigrants is, remember the immigrant, when he deals with Americans, when you deal with Islam, tell the people what Islam is. Don't worry about what they done heard. Don't spend all the day, we're not ISIS, we're not this. Just tell them what Islam is. If they want to see it written, show them the hadith, show them the ayat, and do some tafsir. Tell them what Islam is. Don't tell them what Islam is not. Just tell them this is Islam. Da, 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 da. And there's tons of ayats about love for humanity, about not speaking ill about the gods they worship. At least somebody would say something dumb about it. We got all the ayats that's needed. Okay, we start with that. The other thing is convince the Muslims the direction that we're going in. And if he's left with that Zionist American position, right, of voting and doing all of this, that, and other, okay, after the rebellion, after the transition, the people are going to look around and they're going to see who was with Boss Man. They're going to see it. If they're with him, do like, if you want to follow somebody, do like the hadith say, do this like the Jews. If they go in a hole, you're going to go in a hole. Well, do like the Jews. They got the NAACP, they got everything else first. They went after the people first. Then they come around to the system after they get all the people with them. That was a time when Negroes loved Jews. That was a time when everything just nice, and they were just like the children of Israel. We crossed the sea and all that stuff. Oh, it was right in there. It was in all the songs, you know. I'm trying to tell you. So the Jews did not go directly for the political system. No. When they come at the political system, they got everybody right behind them. Everybody is there. They done got the New York Times. They bought the New York Times 120 years ago, something like that. Right? They got all, pretty soon they got all the newspapers. They got the opinion, and they got all the people there. Oh, the Holocaust, oh my God, right? Then you go after the system. You all go after the system after you got everything in place. You got the money? Here, we're going to help you. You open your mouth about Jews, you're not going anywhere. We're going to crush you. You're going to have you apologizing. You could tell when they got there, the Anita Bryant, the orange juice lady back in the 70s, they run that woman crazy. She comes up talking about sissies. Well, you got to know when you talk about, excuse me, not sissies, when you talk about the other people, or what they call themselves, queers and all of that, yeah, okay. You got to know the Zionists try to break you down through that. They break the moral system down. This is just clear what they do. They do that all the time. And then, do you notice that if you talk about Black Lives Matter, that's one thing, that's fine. But you see who's talking about Black Lives Matter, and then talk about gay rights. They don't deserve this. Go ahead. If you're so bad, I see you. I see you right here. Why you didn't think I don't want to talk about it? Because I don't want to spend all my time talking about somewhere way down the line. Right? We used to talk about this, that. We don't do that because we don't have time to be diverted. If you talk about certain subjects, it don't make no difference what you say next. Because they got you said this, that, and other, that's finished. So now all of them, they're going to come after you. But they've been wanting to do that all the time. They've been, I don't want to talk about Europeans and how they are, especially the males, because they got certain things in them. Okay? But now No, I'm telling you, I mean, I've been in prison all the time, just the fact a Nazi, he had these lightning bolts right there. So I'm in LA County Jail. I stayed back from eating. So he stayed back with me. It was about a 6-man cell. First thing he tells me, my girlfriend, I give it to her in her behind, and I don't care anything about it. So he's telling me, hey man, if you knock me over, we're in jail, He's got lightning bolts. And that's the way, I'm not saying that's the way. But anyway, they're going to pay for that, because right now, the little boys, white boys especially, need good role models. Because, of course, they should be equal, girls and boys and all that. But now, it's almost like they are, hey man, they are under attack.
White men
Are under attack on all levels. On a physical level, on a psychological level, it's bad to be a white man, and then they're poor. They ain't did nothing to nobody. You got to remember, hey man, we just white, we ain't did, and Donald Trump is using them, and the other people is using them to be mad as us, like we did it. Right? We haven't did none of that. We didn't do that. We don't have nothing to do with that. I'm answering a long question, but that question has some deep inroads as far as humanity is concerned. Talk about Islam and what it is, not about what Islam is not. Also, be less happy with the system the way it is. That means about voting, and because the society is going where it's going. It don't make no difference whether you like it or not. If you're seen during the transition as being a friend of the system, you remember, the system is going down. The whole thing is going down. Not the white man is going down. Not the white system is going down, although people may view it like that, but whole America as is going down. And vote for who? All them niggas? There's a system, years ago, we're going to get in the system is changing. How much have you changed the system after 50 years of inclusion? Black police, black judges, black everybody, black. They're killing more niggas today than they did in the old days. They're killing more black people now than they did in the old days. The police used to just beat you up, and they catch, LA police catch you out, they'd kill you. But now it's like there's a viciousness in these police departments. I mean, they're not shooting you once or 4 times. One policeman in Ohio, poor Latino guy, he jumped up on the car and he shot in the car 40-something times. He had to reload. That is, the police never shot, hey man.
that comes back to the Israeli training.
Israeli training, they're not human. They're Goyim. And they black. This makes you strike 2, strike 3, you out. You're not a Jew. And the Zionists don't care if you are a Jew. No. They don't care about no white, about no pork and all of that. They got white steak on the menu in all Israeli settlements, right? I'm trying to say is, when the people win the people. So if anybody thinks that we're off base or that you got the wrong idea. And personally, I've had the time to work out all, I look at the human family as members of the human family. I'll give you an example. 30 years ago, I gave a talk, and I was in the masjid in Oakland, and I told everybody, I will not marry a white woman, period. That was a thing at the time. In those days, all the niggas that got $2 a head, they went and got a white lady. You know. And I wouldn't have felt comfortable standing up in front of a black audience talking about America, and I got Sally right there, or Caitlin, or whoever else it would be. Right? I couldn't have done that. But now, if I found a nice lady that was revolutionary and all that, I could marry him anytime I want, because that period is past. That period is past. Okay, it's important, but in those days, you would be breaking the heart of other black women. You would be breaking their heart. What's wrong with me, nigga? What's wrong with me? You know. So I wasn't going to be a part of that, although everybody else they was down with that. I wasn't down with it. I wasn't down with it at that time. To me, that's evolution. To me, that is evolution, that I can look at a person without putting undue pressure on them to be what they're already not. They're not, you know, they just happen to be white. You know what I mean? Or they happen to be mixed with white and black, or they happen to be, okay. So anyway, we got a long way to go. Go for the people first. Go for the institutions first, but not the voting institutions. And when they look up, you got everybody with you. You got the people, you got the wealth, you got all of that. Then you'll be on the road. Are there any more questions or comments?
That's it.
Okay, I'm gonna run downstairs and make a hulu right quick.